Welcome to Decoristique, where timeless vintage charm meets classic elegance and rustic character. Today, we are exploring the art of vintage floral arrangements and discovering how graceful blooms, weathered vessels, and thoughtfully layered details can transform ordinary corners into captivating displays. From romantic tablescapes to charming mantel arrangements, these ideas bring the beauty of an old-world garden indoors. Vintage flowers have a special way of making a home feel collected, nostalgic, and beautifully lived in. When paired with rustic textures and subtle glam accents, they create arrangements that feel sophisticated without becoming overly formal. Think overflowing roses, delicate hydrangeas, dried foliage, antique ceramics, aged metals, and fabrics that add softness and depth to every composition. If you love classic interiors filled with character and timeless decorating ideas, make sure to subscribe to Decoristique, give this video a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us which floral display you would love to recreate in your own home, and stay with us as we explore 8 inspiring approaches to vintage floral styling. Few flowers capture vintage elegance quite like roses. Arranging full, layered blooms in an antique ceramic pitcher or softly weathered urn instantly creates a romantic focal point with an unmistakable old-world character. Choose roses in muted cream, dusty pink, faded peach, or deep burgundy to create an arrangement that feels beautifully timeless rather than overly polished. For an authentic rustic glam effect, allow the arrangement to feel slightly abundant and naturally imperfect. Combine open blossoms with smaller buds, trailing greenery, and delicate branches so the composition appears gathered from a traditional country garden. The contrast between soft petals and aged pottery creates a wonderful balance between refinement and rustic charm. Place a rose arrangement on a console table, dining table, or vintage sideboard where it can become part of a larger decorative story. Surround it with old books, decorative boxes, brass candlesticks, or framed artwork to create layers that make the entire setting feel collected over time. The result is elegant, welcoming, and wonderfully nostalgic. For a more relaxed interpretation of vintage florals, embrace the generous feeling of a traditional cottage garden. Mix roses with hydrangeas, daisies, delphiniums, lavender, and leafy stems to create an arrangement full of varied shapes and textures. The goal is not perfect symmetry, but an overflowing composition that feels abundant, organic, and effortlessly charming. Use rustic containers to reinforce the countryside character. Galvanized buckets, aged terracotta pots, distressed wooden boxes, and chipped ceramic vessels can all become beautiful foundations for floral displays. Their imperfections add personality and prevent the arrangement from feeling too pristine or contemporary. These abundant arrangements work especially well in kitchens, breakfast nooks, entryways, and casual dining spaces. Pair them with woven baskets, vintage linens, painted furniture, and natural wood finishes for a cohesive rustic interior. Even a simple bouquet can become a memorable decorative feature when its surroundings echo the same relaxed garden aesthetic. Blue and white ceramics offer another timeless way to showcase vintage flowers. Classic patterned vessels, porcelain jars, and decorative ginger jars create an elegant foundation for soft floral arrangements while introducing a subtle sense of collected sophistication. Their intricate patterns can make even a simple bouquet feel like part of a carefully curated interior. To keep the arrangement graceful, choose flowers in complementary shades such as ivory, pale blue, blush, or soft lavender. Green foliage provides a natural bridge between the floral colors and the decorative vessel. The combination feels fresh while still preserving the traditional character that makes blue and white styling so enduring. Display these arrangements on bookshelves, dining buffets, bedroom dressers, or fireplace mantels. Repeating blue and white accents throughout the room can create visual continuity without making the decor feel overly coordinated. Add aged brass, carved wood, and antique-inspired accessories to introduce the rustic glam dimension. Vintage floral decorating does not have to rely entirely on fresh blooms. Dried flowers bring a wonderfully nostalgic quality to interiors, especially when their muted colors complement rustic furnishings and aged materials. Dried roses, wheat, lavender, hydrangeas, eucalyptus, and delicate grasses can create arrangements that remain beautiful long after the season has changed. Combine dried botanicals with rustic vessels such as woven baskets, stoneware crocks, wooden containers, or distressed metal pitchers. The natural textures create depth while the faded tones contribute to the romantic character of a vintage interior. A few delicate stems can be just as effective as an elaborate bouquet when carefully positioned. Dried arrangements are particularly appealing for quieter spaces where subtle decoration works best. Place a small composition beside stacked books, on an antique writing desk, or within an open shelving display. Their understated beauty complements vintage furnishings without competing with architectural details or treasured decorative pieces. A floral centerpiece can completely transform a dining table, especially when vintage blooms are combined with elegant decorative accents. Start with a low arrangement that encourages visual connection across the table, then layer it with aged silverware, textured linens, ceramic dishes, and small decorative objects. This creates a tablescape that feels sophisticated while retaining a welcoming country house atmosphere. Consider combining romantic flowers with antique brass or silver vessels for a touch of understated glamour. Soft roses, hydrangeas, peonies, and greenery can soften the harder surfaces of metal and glass, while vintage textiles introduce warmth. The contrast between delicate petals and patinated materials is what gives rustic glam styling its distinctive appeal. Keep the surrounding decorations restrained enough for the flowers to remain the centerpiece. A few carefully chosen details often create more impact than a crowded table. When every element has texture, history, or visual interest, even an everyday dining setting can feel like an elegant vintage gathering. A fireplace mantel provides a natural stage for a dramatic vintage floral arrangement. Instead of placing flowers alone in the center, create a layered composition with an antique mirror, framed artwork, ceramic vessels, candlesticks, and botanical accents. This approach turns the entire mantel into a decorative vignette rather than treating the flowers as an isolated accessory. For a graceful arrangement, allow some stems to extend outward and slightly beyond the edges of the vessel. This creates movement and keeps the display from appearing rigid. Pair fuller blooms with trailing greenery and smaller botanical elements to establish different heights and textures throughout the composition. The beauty of a vintage mantel is in the balance between elegance and imperfection. A distressed frame, slightly weathered vase, antique book, or aged decorative object can make the arrangement feel authentic and personal. Together, these details create the impression of a home filled with treasured pieces gathered across generations. Vintage floral arrangements offer one of the simplest ways to bring romance, character, and timeless beauty into a home. Whether you prefer abundant cottage garden bouquets, elegant roses in antique vessels, delicate dried botanicals, or sophisticated table centerpieces, the secret is to combine natural beauty with aged textures and carefully chosen decorative details. Rustic glam does not require everything to match perfectly. Instead, it celebrates the contrast between softness and patina, refinement and imperfection, fresh blooms and weathered materials. By layering flowers with vintage ceramics, aged metals, natural wood, woven textures, and classic accessories, you can create interiors that feel graceful, welcoming, and full of personality. Thank you so much for spending time with Decoristique today. If you enjoyed these vintage floral arrangement ideas, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment telling us which display inspired you most. We look forward to bringing you more timeless vintage, classic, and rustic decorating inspiration in our next video.